Everything that doesn't serve you is being burnt into the fire, but it's being used as fuel to reclaim your power. We can actually have it all. This is what people can do in their own life. Is something not going right in one area of your life, you need to start looking at what you didn't even think is related. There is a transmission coming from our heart spaces and our third eyes into the people that are watching this. If we're all awakening, that fire is being ignited within us. Everything that we're going to be in the future is now. Everything that we were in the past is now. We all need to be doing our work. We all need to be disciplined, and we all need to be curious about what is within the blueprint that's going to manifest for us that's better than we ever thought.
Ever since I wrote my goals down with the pen, my dreams and reality have both been blending in. I just hope that in the end, my debt don't extend me on my dividends if it did.
So Gaia, welcome back. You're my first repeat guest.
Wow, that's so amazing.
Really cool.
I'm so happy to be back in LA here with you.
Thank you. Yeah, from all the way from New Zealand. I think last time people got an idea of who you are.
Yeah.
You can tell people's past lives, what happened. You call it soul progression because it's the patterns they keep repeating over and over, and you tell them why, you help them break that pattern. You did it with me, it's extraordinary. But this time we're talking more like collective.
Yeah.
What's happening on Earth? Why is it happening? How is it happening? Who does it affect? So I'm excited for that.
Me too. I mean, as I work and see more people, Spirit's giving me more, like you say, on a bigger scale, the concepts that are really impacting humanity at the moment, and why working with individuals like you and I do is really impactful, because that vibration continues on to help everybody else. But yeah, there's been some big shifts over this last year, and an accelerated ascension symptoms that are happening to everybody that are wanting to progress. And I think it's important for people to understand what could be happening for them rather than to them.
What I love about the sentence you just said too is you said, this is happening to people who want to progress. Because I'm noticing a split happening, which one of my questions will be about that, but where I'm seeing people like me, people who I work with, people who I go to as healers, who are like feeling it.
Yep.
And it's like feeling it on a big level. This shift that's happening, this massive like time thing that's happening. And then I'm like seeing other people, like from my former life, for example, when I was a journalist or whatever, and I don't feel like they feel like anything's happening other than world events. Like they know there's a conflict here or the Oscars or whatever, but I'm like, do you feel what's going on? Like I can't comprehend that not everybody feels this.
The way that my spirit guides communicated with, to me with this particular issue is, we are like our devices, a phone or a laptop or an iPad or whatever you want to compare it to, and we're all connected to the motherboard, which is the universe. But some of these devices are becoming outdated. Some of them need to be expired. Some of them need to die and be recycled. And each one of us are at different levels, just like how you have a different phone, I have a different phone. But there is this acceleration of we needing to deal with things now. And so the people, like you say, from your old life, who nothing much is changing, they're not feeling anything, they're going to be. And it's us and your viewers and people who are interested in progressing and finding out why they're here and what the symptoms are and what they're meant to be doing on their soul path. They're going to be accelerating the process for the ones that are left behind. It's like if we don't update our programs inside us, like we do with our phones or computers, you're going to miss out. You're going to miss out on the upgrades of technology, but that's happening spiritually and vibrationally as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like I was talking about, I had this client recently, and this is why I was admiring your necklace, your sacred geometry one.
Yeah, and I'll show it. The reason I actually wore it, by the way, is because Robert Edward Grant, in that episode where he came on, was talking about this shape. And I said, I have a necklace of that shape, but I've never worn it. He's like, try it, wear it, see what happens. And this is my first time wearing it since he said that.
And like, I don't naturally know a lot about sacred geometry, but it's something that I'm intuitively picking up a lot. And I had this client recently, and I'd never met her before, and she was online, and I was traveled to some lifetime of hers, and I saw her with a male spirit guide standing in a room, and she's turned to me in that lifetime and said, I have drawn all of the sacred geometry on these walls. I know what they mean, and they're all portals, basically, portals for ascension. So then I said that to her, and then I said to her, when do you turn 65? And she said, well, next month. And I said, okay, Spirit's telling me that we need to activate the sacred geometry before you turn 65, because I said, this is your time. It wasn't before 65. It wasn't, you know, it's now. This is your time. And so when I said this to her, I didn't know anything about
Time for
her.
what though?
Her time to step into her healing abilities. Because she said to me, I thought my life's done. I've had a child, I've married, you know, I'm not working very much anymore. And I think this is a really important message. There is no time. People always put this pressure on themselves and we're all competing with one another. And I'm sure you see it in your work and people around you. Human beings innately have a very fierce competition with another human being. Everybody wants an edge. Everybody wants to be better. The ego really causes so many dramas within us to fight for validation and to be seen. And so with this client, you know, turning 65 and then me seeing all the sacred geometry, and then she took me into another space within this time frame, this lifetime before, and she said, well, my side job is that I look after all the artifacts at this time. So I said this to her. I said, okay, so you got to tell me what this means because I don't know. I'm the one seeing this information. And she said, I am a museum curator in this lifetime. So she said, I look after all the artifacts. And she said, but 25 years ago, I had a dream and a male spirit guide came to me and showed me all the sacred geometry and said, one day you will know someone will activate this for you. So she left that session feeling like 65 is not old. I actually can step into my healing abilities. And I think that it's a really important message to let people know you don't have to rush. Like spiritual ascension is naturally happening for us. It's not something that we have to force or seek out. People just will naturally come into your life with different messages and parts of the jigsaw puzzle, and energetically it's happening anyway. So it's something that you don't have to go, oh my God, I've got this timeline. I need to be healing people now and I need to be at this level now, because it's naturally happening and it's happening really, really quickly.
I want to thank you for watching, but also please don't forget to subscribe because we're noticing in the analytics that some people are watching multiple videos but haven't subscribed yet, and it really helps me to continue to improve the show. One of those improvements is that this season I'm only having one sponsor for the entire season instead of 5. And it's Lila Quantum Technology. So they are the official sponsors of the Quite Frankly podcast. And I'm so excited because if you have followed me for a while, you know how much I love this technology. They have multiple third-party double-blind studies to show how this affects your health in a really positive way. But also the way I use it is I write my intentions on a piece of paper like this, and I put it in there and it's now in the quantum field. So more about that in a bit, and thank you for watching. Okay, I have to piggyback on what you just said for people watching because a few things. In the last time when you were here, it was a year ago, you told me by age 38, you'll start doing miracles and blessings for people, and people will come from all over the world for a miracle. And I have a 38 tattoo. It's hidden behind my hair. You can't even see it. It's behind my ear. And I've always been connected with that number. The way you've always known something at 33 would happen, I've always known something at 38 would happen, but I didn't know what. But, okay, so that's the first thing. But then I have to piggyback on what you just said about the time thing, because I then messaged you, I think it was like a month later, and I was like, there's this guy at the gym and he's limping. And it's not like because he is injured, like that's his limp, right? He walks like that. And I want so badly to do this like miracle thing. When is it gonna happen? What can I do to start activating this? And you were like, don't worry, it's all happening. It's time, the evolution happens. There's nothing you can do to speed it up. You know, just do what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think we all need to remember that, because it's that innate competition within us of like, I only got this period of time to do it. I want to be able to help people now, or whatever the reason is.
Because for me, it's a competition with me. I don't compete with it. Like, I don't even know other people's names. I don't watch anybody else's. It's all me. Yeah. But I'm so fiercely, like, I'm an aggressive person. I'm fiery. Like, I'm scorching, you know?
I can be like that
like
too.
You? And I have to really simmer down.
And it's taken me a lot of conscious effort to just go back into that space of flow and trust, because when I do that, then the miracles do just naturally come into your path, rather than having to go and, because when we force it, nothing works. Like Spirit said to me, and this is a really cool thing that I remember now, Spirit said to me, people are always focused on how and when. Always. How's this going to happen? When is this going to happen? These are two questions as a medium. It's very, very hard to answer, because if someone asks how and when without it naturally coming out of my mouth, it's like, oh my God, I have to look for this information that isn't wanting to be given to you, because you don't need to know that. Spirit says to us we need to focus on now and then, meaning like I've noticed a change in you since seeing you a year ago. I know I'm different. I know that, everyone's different because we've progressed. That's all you need to focus on. It's like, what have I got now? Who was I then? And how have I moved to keep progressing? Because that's always my perspective in life, is how am I progressing? Sure, we have times where we feel like we're standing still and nothing's really happening. But that's when I know behind the scenes something is preparing you. Mm-hmm. Something is preparing you, and it's happening to all of us. So even the ones that don't seem like, I don't feel anything's going on and I'm not noticing, it's because they're not paying conscious effort of all the synchronicities that are actually coming up for them.
But you said eventually they all have to, like they will get it.
Yeah.
But you also said some people will be recycled. So which one is it?
I think that it's going to be naturally happening to everybody, because otherwise they are going to miss out, or they're not going to feel that they're connected. And this is also coming into, some sort of hybrid energy as well, with people coming in that have extraterrestrial energy. And so I feel like the recycling thing comes in with them. It's like taking aspects of old energies of people that were living previously and integrating with people from the future that are going to be helping the rest of us come up collectively with humanity. But that, coming back to like the sacred geometry and that story, it's that these portals are opening up all around us, and we just have to pay attention, because they might not look the way you think they want them to look. Like I often see them in my meditation, or occasionally my spirit guides will literally dangle them in front of my face, and I'm like, oh, I'm in waking state and I can see this. It's time for me to step through. And we've got, equinoxes that come up. And for me, I'm speaking very personally about what I feel, but I'm sure a lot of people will resonate. Around the equinox, I will always feel a lot of heart issues going on. Like the last equinox last year sometime, I can't remember when it was, I literally was feeling like I was having heart attacks. And these are like the ascension symptoms that people can be feeling. Tingling crown chakras, really sore pressure on the third eye.
I was feeling that one a lot.
That's right.
And I never get headaches, ever. I don't even know what a headache feels like. And I've been feeling that one.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of pressure in the third eye. There's a lot of heart stuff. Like when I've been working on people whose hearts have been completely blocked are really starting to open up. And we need that openness. We need to come back to a space of not being competitive, whether it's with ourselves or with anybody else, and just come back to that place of we're all rising together. And some of us are going to be pulling other people up. There's going to be a load more people that are more powerful than me and you and whoever, but we're just here fulfilling our purpose in our lane, and we'll just keep moving up. And this is why we've got all these amazing gurus and things that have come with ancient wisdom to teach us. I just feel like my place is that I see everyday people, and they are my teachers, and they teach me to be able to experience and see someone for who they really are and keep helping them progress in their life. But people can do that in their own life by just really paying attention to what is being shown to them every single day. Every single day we're getting messages. It's just that we're not paying attention. And, this morning before coming here, there was a big crow above my head just crowing at me, and it made me get my attention to look up. And I know that means this. And I was saying to my friend last night, something big's going to happen. There's going to be a big transformation. And, whenever I say things like that, usually something else transpires spiritually that's opening us all up. It's like the transmission is opening up for us to see from our heart rather than seeing from our mind. And that's really important. Like when I was having all these heart things happening previous equinox, Spirit put a big eye in my heart and opened it up to say, you're going to be seeing from your heart now. And this is going to be this heart coherence that we're all going to be connecting with each other deeper in this way. So no more competition as such, but appreciating and seeing people for who they are. Because it makes it really hard as a healer too, if you see another healer or somebody else and they come in with preconceived notions of what they think you're going to do or what they know. If I go and see anybody, I literally am just a layman going, I want to see what you see. And I want to experience what you experience. But it's now going to be coming more from the heart rather than the ego. So that's why healers and people who are working in the ego, who are working in the competition, who are working for all the wrong reasons, they're going to be found out too.
I feel that.
It's all collapsing. All those structures are, the old ways of thinking, the old patterns are all collapsing so that we can all come up together and embrace each other.
So when that happens and these people get found out, right? All the truth coming to the surface, which is actually what Vedic astrology says will happen this year, mid this year.
Excellent.
It says hidden truths will come to the surface, people's real intention, their deception. But is it from a place where it's not like so we can bring them down and say, haha, it's more like, okay, now let's start new and be authentic, right?
That is exactly right. I was going to say that for them, if they are faced with this trigger of, oh my goodness, like who am I now? It's not for us to point fingers and go, I told you so, you know, there's something wrong or you're not doing this from an authentic place. It is to find that authentic power. It's to come back to that place of who you really are. Because anyone that's successful in anything that they do, the ones that are truly successful, which I'm not talking about financial success, I'm talking about having balance and abundance in all areas of their life. They're just naturally themselves. They're not trying to be anybody else. They're just, just being themselves. And I'm seeing a lot of people who are coming to me saying, I want to be a healer. I want to do what you do. I'm like, no, we've got to find out what you're here to do.
Yeah.
We've got to find out what you're here to do. And then you do it your way, because we need all the healers in the world contributing, because we can't see them all.
Like the museum curator you were talking about, that's her thing.
And exactly.
Like that's her way of healing.
That's right. And so Spirit had even given me the name of the person for her to go and talk to.
Whoa.
In terms of helping her find more, because I don't know anything about sacred geometry, just through what Spirit showed me in my session. When I said the name, she's like, I know her. That is the person that actually introduced me to spirituality in the first place. I was like, well, you need to go back to her. And you need to ask her about this particular topic. But a lot of that is happening with clients. It's like they're coming and Spirit's giving really important information. They're giving very specific time frame. So we all go through energetic cycles, and I'm sure from astrology you'll have some knowledge about that where I don't know about that. But they're giving me particular time frames, like, oh, something's ending for you at this age, something is beginning again at this age.
Yeah.
So you're like in the middle of your cycle. This is why it might feel like a transition for you, but now something else is going to be unfolding.
Totally. And then there's like massive ones and then little ones within that. So right now I'm in a really big one called the Jupiter Mahadasha, and that's a big thing for me. That's like my guru, my teacher coming to me. And it's true. It's like when I've met all the gurus, and this is a long 16-year period, but it's all started since that time that it began.
Yeah.
And I'm only halfway through it. But yes, and then there's like the mini ones. And you mentioned the equinox. Oh my God. You mentioned so many things that I already have like questions about, but you mentioned it all in a paragraph. So I'm like, oh, where do I even go? Down. Yeah, but maybe we start with like, just so people understand, what is a soul blueprint, and if they can't come to you or whatever happens, which I don't want to get into logistics, but we need to figure out I don't know how your system works, because I'll have some clients and they're like, oh yeah, my session is in 2 weeks and I just signed up, and then others are like, she told me I'm on a year wait list. So I'm like, I don't understand how that works, and maybe it's Spirit telling you. Is that what it is?
It's always
with every
divine
single
timing.
person?
It is, absolutely.
Okay.
So sometimes there'll be, because I can only work so much, and then when I work, I'll see how I feel, and then I'll get my assistant to be able to book more people in. Because sometimes I can see one person, and I'll be out for 2 weeks, depending on how strenuous the energy was to transmute. But it is. And the reason that's happening is because there are so many people wanting to accelerate their soul progression. And I think the soul blueprint level is that, we all have a blueprint that we are following. But the thing with the blueprint is that there is room for free will and there is room for flexibility. Like Spirit gave me an acronym, and it's CAP, C-A-P. Because sometimes I ask Spirit, they give me interesting information about people, and people will ask me, well, what's that for? What am I meant to do with that? And I'm like, well, you're either meant to change something, you're meant to accept something, or you're meant to prepare for something else. And so the blueprint, and if you can't access that blueprint yourself, you can actually look at these aspects in your own life through the connections that you have, meaning like, who's your family? What's your dynamic? What's been happening to you? What's been happening for you? What sort of children do you have what are they triggering within you? You can actually backtrack and have a look to see, well, then I was this and this is what I've come from to now. Because when I work, I'm looking at a person from an ancestral level, I'm looking from a soul blueprint level, and I'm looking from a past life connection level. But you know that through familiarity we have with people, through people who make us feel uncomfortable. I knew this even before I knew I had any abilities, where I was getting specific lessons around particular ethnic groups. And I was thinking, why is this happening? Like, why am this particular ethnic group gravitating towards me? And then I went for an astrology reading. And the lady had said to me, without me telling her this, she said, if I flipped your chart, the best place for you to live is this place that I'm actually getting all that ethnic group being attracted to me. So you can actually derive a lot of this information yourself by looking at where you've come from, what you're interested in, what you're wanting to do. So the blueprint for me on a spiritual level is that our soul has a blueprint that is flexible.
But is that all like, sorry to interrupt, but is that all karma, past life beliefs that were created that you just continue to, because I think you've told me this and I understand it from a year ago way better level now.
Yeah.
Like I don't just believe it, I know it now, right?
Yeah.
That it's not past, present, future, even though we call it past life, it's all at the same time.
That's
it's
right.
all overlapping,
It
right?
is.
And so is that like, because it overlaps, I have these beliefs that are created, but there's like, if I leave this body and I'm in a new one, that the beliefs are still there, the impressions are still there.
100%.
Okay.
This makes me want to talk to you about a case study that I've recently seen. A young woman, I don't remember who these people are. They're things that blow my mind, that's why I remember.
Okay.
And she was quite a young lady, I believe. And I could see her in these lifetimes before where she had an eating disorder. She had an eating disorder. And I see eating disorders and addictions, people who've had these either in their blueprint or they've got this tendency in their lives now in some form. So I saw all of these lifetimes of hers where she was stopping herself from eating, and she was there was affluent family, there was money. There was times where she was bedridden and she had to be force-fed. And so I was talking to her about this, and she looked at me and she said, I have an eating disorder in this lifetime too. And she said, I'm addicted to laxatives as well. And this has come from several lifetimes, from hundreds and hundreds of years ago. But what is happening is in that timeline, Spirit's giving me information on what's happening now so that can actually be dealt with.
Yeah, you don't just tell people, this is what I like.
No.
You're not like, you're a Cleopatra.
That's right.
You're like telling them for a reason. Because there's so many people who read Akashic records and this and that, and they're telling you things, and I'm like, okay.
What do you want me to do with it?
And I don't care. And how do I know it's true? Like for me to know it's true and to like really believe, it's like I need it to make sense, and like why? It has to have a purpose. And you're telling people for a very specific reason.
Exactly. And so that's what amazes me, because I'm receiving information. It's not me. I'm just the conduit that's looking and receiving it and delivering it and transmuting the energy from it. So when I say those and said that to her, she kind of looked at me going, that's exactly what is happening to me now. And then I said to her, in every one of these lifetimes, you've never had a partner. I said, you never get married, you never have children. And her question to me was, am I going to have it in this lifetime? And I said to her, no. Unless you actually do something about this and really address it. I said, I can do the energy part, but it's your life. You actually have to find someone who is trained in this area that you are accountable to and can be helped day to day.
You need to help her with the eating disorder?
Correct.
And that,
because I'm doing the energy part of it and outlining and showing her that this is not, because I didn't know anything about it, she's not talking to me, but for me to see that, and that is her pressing issue. But that's the thing, everything is connected, Frank. Like, what Spirit's been showing me, in the past, especially when I first started doing this work, and I was, every day I'm figuring this out, right? Because it's all changes every day. In the beginning, it was lifetimes that were more kind of like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. I can understand how I was doing that.
And then you started to see why.
Yes, and then as I moved and I was learning and I progressed, because I'm a human being that's learning also, Spirit is becoming very specific with targeting the chronic issues. Not the acute issues. The acute issues are our day-to-day things. I hurt my knee, or something's happening. The chronic issues are the ones that are coming and repeating over and over again. And Spirit is giving me direct information about, Frank, this is what you need to deal with now. Because if you don't deal with this part, you're not going to have the relationship that you're actually wanting. It's all connected. It's not one or the other anymore. It's not that back when I first started doing this 8 years ago or whatever it was, people could have a successful business but not have a successful relationship, or vice versa, could have a successful job and not have a great relationship.
And now they can have it all?
Now you can have it all. And I actually said to Spirit, are you kidding me? And they
Yeah.
were like, no, this is what I'm saying. Everything is coming up together. We can't do it without one or the other, Frank.
You know, there was an ayahuasca ceremony that I did with a Shipibo shaman from the Amazon, and she's singing these songs, these ikaros, right? And this was like 4 years ago or something. I'm learning now from these gurus that like you can activate this stuff like DMT or certain things within you, and I'm doing that, and so I'm trying to just find my own power.
Yeah.
But I remember in this one ceremony, the ikaros were becoming too much for me, and I ran out of the room, like screaming, ran out of the room. And my friend, thankfully, I was friends with one of the people that facilitates the whole thing. So he snuck me into like a room, and because I was like, I can't be in that room anymore. I can't hear her singing. It's like killing me. And so it was just too much for the ego, you know. And so I ran out. But I'm looking in the mirror, and I was like, is this the end? Like, is the world ending? Are we all dying? And it told me everybody will get their happy ending.
Yeah.
Everybody gets their happy ending. Don't worry. And this was like 4 years ago. And now I understand why she told me that. I'm seeing everybody's getting their happy ending.
Yes, and we have to let go of how that happens. That's why how and when, who knows? Like no one can really tell you how and when, because that's the curiosity of life, of like, you know.
And that's the fun of it, right?
And that's the fun of it, letting the mystery unfold. That's why I'm always walking through my life going, oh, look at that's happening, this is
Yes.
unfolding, or Spirit's showing me this or whatever, rather than, oh, I know it all and I need to know it all. I don't look at my life like that. But it surprised me too when Spirit's going, guy, we can actually have it all. And this is what people can do in their own life. Is something not going right in one area of your life, you need to start looking at what you didn't even think is related. And this brings me to another story that will help people understand this correlation. Saw a client, she was working in a brothel actually in some lifetime, and she was teaching dance to the working ladies. And she used to come here, she'd work during the week, and then she'd go back to her village, and her husband and her 2 children were in this village. So she was the money maker, the breadwinner, taking the money home. She went home, and so this story is all unfolding in my vision as I'm telling this lady as a client. She went home and she found out that her husband was having an affair. And he passed on a disease to her at the age of 47.
In this other life.
In this other life, right? So I'm telling her all this. And I looked at her, I said, okay, so why am I being told all this? And she said to me, at 47, I am a dancer in this lifetime. My husband had an affair. And the disease that you've just mentioned is the disease that he's passed on to me. So Spirit gave something so specific that she had to go, hang on, I need to deal with this right now. And then I had to draw the connection. So I said, do you want to start your own business? She said, I absolutely do, but I can't. She said, I just feel so stuck. That's the reason, because there's all this old resentment and all of this stuff of like, I've done everything for you. I'm the one that was the breadwinner. But really, what actually needs to be handled and dealt with is the relationship dynamic, because it's an established relationship for many, many years with grown children and whoever. But it's actually what's the obstacle in preventing her from stepping into her healing abilities. So we all are now being forced to look at all areas of our life rather than our ego going, oh, I'm so good at my work, I earn lots of money, there's lots of, employment opportunities for me. It's like, hang on, I actually need to look at what I really want to be doing, what's happening for me, and what the opportunity is for me to heal all areas of my life so that we can have our happy ending.
Wow. So what is the thing then that you pose this question? Are you coming into this life as a victim, as an empowered healer, as a karmic balancer in the world? What does that mean? And how does somebody watching this right now, how do they know which one am I?
I think this is a good question for all of us to ponder. I started to get interest in these levels because this is how Spirit communicates with me, because I'm quite naive with my spirituality, because I'm like you, I don't look at anything else, I don't read anything else, I don't know, I just do what Spirit tells me to do, right? And so what I notice when people come to me is that Spirit will overall give me a theme for that person. Okay, this person's a healer, guy. It's like, you know you're a healer, right? Or you know you're a teacher, right? You know you're a light bearer. A lot of people are coming to me that want to step into their healing abilities but don't know how. So if you're someone that's watching this or listening to this going, I feel like there is something that I need to be doing, I don't know what it is or how, just start. Like for me, I couldn't question it, because in the beginning I was questioning, going, what am I doing? What's this for? But when I just started doing it, I thought, okay, actually, this has got nothing to do with me because I'm being given the information. So if you feel like you are receiving information from the motherboard into your device, you are being prepared to help people on your scale. Not all of us are meant to be internationally world-renowned healers. That's okay too. Do what you're meant to be doing and accept that. And then prepare for more, because as you graduate, as you are acknowledged by Spirit for what you're doing, you will be given more anyway without that expectation. So recognizing you're a healer, I find that people who come to me and I say that, they already have an inkling. But now I'm actually just giving you the encouragement to just do something about it. Try seeing a person, take the massage course that you're wanting to do the Reiki course, do whatever, and just start rather than sitting there wondering what you're meant to be doing. So the teachers are, another level, not necessarily higher or anything like that, but they're bringing the collective, the masses towards what they want to be doing and helping them. The light bearers are the people that are the ones that we see in the media, people who are really, really well known. So they play their part as well. So everybody's kind of fitting in with a theme. The thing that I found interesting is the theme that Spirit gave me, the people who come in as sacrifices or saviors, they're not necessarily the ones receiving healing at the moment. They're the ones that are traditionally suffering at the moment. And because we are meant to learn from them, from the suffering from the world.
So they're teachers too.
They're teachers too, but in a different way, because they're experiencing something that's really making the world go, this needs to change. This is something that we need to break down and start again. So, you can start identifying, like the karmic balances, this amazing story where I saw a client and in a couple of lifetimes before, she delivered a stillborn child, a stillborn son. And 2 hours later, the Spirit is showing me this child comes alive again. But then they rewinded back to another lifetime earlier on and showed that my client's father in another lifetime had a relationship and delivered a stillborn daughter. And the daughter didn't make it. But when I came back to the lifetime of my client, 2 hours later, her son came alive, and Spirit was telling me her son is a prophet. So I'm telling all of this to the client. And the client looks at me with her mouth open, and she said a year or two ago, I can't remember what the time frame is, she said, I gave birth to a son. He was clinically deceased for 2 hours. He came alive, and I've named him the name of a prophet. But she said, what really blew my mind about what Spirit just gave you is she said, before my dad met my mum, he was in a relationship and he had a stillborn daughter who didn't make it. So this is giving me the karmic balancer. He took the hit for his daughter so that her child could come alive and for her not to experience the loss and the grief of losing a child in that way.
He consciously took the hit?
He consciously took the hit. So that's why he may not have realized it in this lifetime that we're in together as Frank and Guy are talking about this. But in that previous lifetime, I was shown that connection to explain to her what that connection was as to your dad actually saved you.
So when you said her son is a prophet, though, is that just like a nickname, like you saw the name, or no, like actual
like his
Messiah
energy,
prophet?
His energy.
In that life or in this one?
Both. So he was in that life. That's why, I mean, who else would come alive 2 hours later, right? You have to have some sort of pulling ability for that light to step into your body, because usually the light steps into your body at conception. But this was not the case. The body formed and the light stepped into the body 2 hours later.
Wow.
It was phenomenal. Like I've told the story to a few friends because it blew my mind, but even telling you now it gives me goosebumps.
It's so funny, I know. It's funny because you remind me of like when I'm dealing with clients sometimes and I'm not doing anything at this level, no way. I mean, sometimes I'll go to past lives and I'll say like, or it's inherited. You have this from your great-grandfather, and she'll be like, oh, well, they went through a war and she'll know the story. But when they come to me with the, like another session and they've already had one before and they say, since our last session, my surgery got canceled or my whatever, I'm like, what? No way! And I'm like, they're probably thinking like, who is this idiot? He doesn't even know his own abilities. But it's because I'm like, it's like you said, it's not me, and I'm still shocked by it. Every time it happens, I'm like, you're kidding me, it worked?
And I think that's a really good way to be. I think because if we start thinking, oh my God, we're so great and so wonderful, we're human beings too. We've got stuff we need to sort out. Like every day, I'm faced with my own things, I'm like, okay, what am I meant to do with that? Or if I'm upset about something. But I think that with people now, they're needing to draw these connections themselves, because if she actually sat and thought about that herself and thought, oh my God, Dad actually did have a stillborn daughter, and then I had a stillborn son, but then it came alive again, what could that connection be? Like, why is this some weirdly repeating? So we need to be more conscious about, like now when I look at my family dynamics, for example, as a kid, I didn't know I had any spiritual abilities, but I remember thinking, oh, when me and my mom and my grandma together, things are like a funny dynamic, and then one removes and then we're okay. So I started looking, I didn't realize I was looking at those dynamics already. It's just now on a different level. So I just think that like that is an example of the theme, the karmic balancer, and that person didn't suffer because they went on. Of course they did, because they lost a child. You know, it's very hard to detach from those sort of things. What I mean that they didn't suffer is that they're not in that theme of we're still suffering, we're not victims of war or all the horrible things that are happening in the world, where we're learning from those experiences. We can't have this stuff keep happening over and over again. So as a karmic balancer, you might find yourself in these kind of situations within your family dynamic or your work dynamic where you're the person that seems to be balancing everything out. And you could even be a supporter. Like I often see clients who come in, and I can see them in lifetimes before, where they're brought in to support people and to raise them up. You know, to bring them up. I support this person doing that. And that might be your sole purpose in this lifetime. And so I think it doesn't mean we have to accept everything to stay the same. This is why the blueprint is flexible. We're here to progress. But sometimes it does come from a place of, I just have to accept that this is happening to me. Just like when I had my awakening at 33, I had to just be like, okay, who I was isn't who I was anymore. This is who I really am. And I just have to accept it and just go with the flow and see what happens.
If we're not in a session and we're just talking like this, are you getting certain answers from spirit, or is it all you?
No, it's definitely guided. Because sometimes I'll forget what I say. Most sessions I forget what I say unless they're mind-blowing.
But I mean
stories.
like this kind of conversation right now.
Yeah, I mean I do pick things up. But I think that I mostly control it a lot, because I change and I feel like that person.
You do change,
I
actually.
do.
I've seen, in the session, you're a different person.
Yeah, and I feel like a different person. And if someone's trying to engage in a conversation where I need to be articulate, I could find it very, very hard. Like my partner will sometimes want to say things to me before I start working, and he'd be like, oh yeah, I can't talk to her right now because she's in some other. So I'm like, yeah, just wait till later, because I don't even know what you're saying right now. So it's very hard for me to disassociate both of them. So I generally keep one thing separate. But everything I talk about, like even the details of the lifetimes, most of it I forget. I actually had to write a few of them down to go, okay, what happened in that lifetime again? Oh, that's right. Because I will completely forget. But we're meant to. We're not meant to remember.
Of course, yeah.
We're not meant to remember because it's not for us. It just comes through us, we pass it on, we help the person heal as much as they're allowing us to, and then we get on with our lives.
Without attaching to it?
Yeah.
So I like to do this. So when I had Shaman Durek here, that's why I asked him, is there anything that you felt today here?
Well, I think the first thing, last night in my meditation before coming here, I saw a big flame between us, and it was like a bonfire. It's like we're forming a medicine circle with all these totem animals that are coming around us to be able to help who's watching this. And I just feel like on that fire, the flame grows in terms of burning away what doesn't serve humanity anymore, and to bring up the flame within all of us to find our passions, to find our desires. And that was my first observation when you opened the door and welcomed us in today, is that you've come into yourself a lot more. You're a lot more sure of who you are. It's just that your ego might question what you're doing and why you're doing it, which is why we need to control that part of us and just trust that Spirit is guiding us all the time. We just need to go, yes, more of that, or no, thank you. I've learned that. I know in my life when I'm triggered with certain things, it's because it's like Spirit's testing me, going, are you going to respond in the old way? Are you going to respond in the new way where you know better? And then when I respond in the new way, that lesson doesn't come up again. And I just feel like with all of us and with you're just coming, everyone watching this who is drawn to watch this, everything that doesn't serve you is being burnt in the fire, but it's being used as fuel to reclaim your power. That's not me, okay? That was Spirit giving that out.
Say it again.
I don't even know what I said.
You're putting it in the fire, it's creating fuel to refuel. Oh god, I just lost it and I had it.
This is why I don't know what I say.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that was definitely from Spirit. So you're going to have to find that. And
Rewind
yeah.
and repeat it. Oh my god, okay. Hey, I just really quickly want to tell you about the necklace that I'm wearing. You might see me wearing it in a lot of these episodes. I actually give it to many of the guests too. They're from Lila Quantum Technology, and as you can see, there are little capsules inside that are supercharged with what they call quantum energy. And it's just like walking around with one of the full-sized infinity blocks with you wherever you go. So you can get those on the website too and be quantumly upgraded wherever you go. Yeah. So, it's interesting. The last time when we spoke, not on camera, off camera, you said, Frank, it's really important first you said Firas, which is, I'm trying to embody that more, my first name. But you said you have to embody or learn from a practice that you had thousands of years ago in Persia when you were a Zoroastrian. Zoroastrian. And I knew nothing about this religion, nothing. The interesting thing, in the past year, it keeps popping up. Just last night, I watched like a 2.5 hour video about the Gnostics, and that kept coming up. But what reminded me of that, and to say that now, is you just brought up the fire. Their whole thing is worshiping the sacred fire.
There you go.
And they'll have like one fire because that represents God, creator. Creation is fire, creation is light. And they just leave it lit. It never goes off. There's a guardian of the fire.
Yeah. And like even watching this, I know Spirit has told me that there is a transmission coming from our heart spaces and our third eyes into the people that are watching this. So it's like if we're all awakening, that fire is being ignited within us. And now you resonate, because I don't know why I was seeing the flame. I was just picking up on that. I needed to tell you that. But it is that reclamation of power. It's like, it's not from an ego place though. It's coming from a place of like that true knowing that actually I am powerful. I'm able to be who I am authentically without anybody wanting to cut me down or not seeing me for who I am. But those are the biggest changes, because usually when we look at the world, people are exerting power in ways where people are victims, right? We're victims to crime, we're victims to whatever. Now the power is coming to a place where everyone has their own power awakening within them. So there's no need to try and take the power of anybody else.
So like, let's say in 10, 20 years, will money matter as much? Will wealth? And maybe the answer is yes, but we're moving toward...
I'm hearing a no right now. That's interesting, thank you. But I'm hearing a no.
Because when you
right
say
now.
power, like I think what is considered powerful now, or when somebody says that person is successful, what they're saying is that person has a high-ranking job or a company or money. Like that's how people see power. But then when I hear it, when you're talking, I'm hearing a powerful person, like secure, knows who they are, knows their gifts, has everything they need,
and feels confidence and being empowered in the way they walk through life, rather than feeling like you're a victim to everything. And I do see victim energy a lot. I mean, sometimes I have my own pity party too and sit in the victim energy for a period and go, hang on, this is not serving me anymore, so I need to move forward as an empowered woman. But I think, like, to answer your question, Spirit's telling me, like, in 10, 20 years, sure, money and all of that will be important to certain people and corporations and all of that. But on the human level, we will know that it's still just a means to having the experience that we need to have on a human level, but it's not. We're not going to be fighting for it the way that we do in that competitive nature. I mean, that's because if you look at any industry, even the spiritual category of life, the spiritual ego is bad. Because people think we have this power. That's why I try and remove myself from all of that and just remember I'm a person. I've got my own things going on. I tell my clients that don't think I know everything. I mean, I can see a lot. I'm good at piecing things together, but I'm just like you. All I've done is I've just followed my gift. All I've done is I've acknowledged what my chronic issues are in terms of what I've needed to heal in this lifetime. And I do the work every day. I'm not just sitting here on my high horse like I know everything. It's not about that. It's like we all need to be doing our work. We all need to be disciplined, and we all need to be curious about what is within the blueprint that's going to manifest for us that's better than we ever thought.
Oof, yeah. What about femininity? And it's coming up a lot. I even noticed before you came on today that season 1, I had probably 80% male people that I was interviewing, guests. And in this season, it's like 80% female. And I'm just having a lot of these women come on. And I think I've interviewed 1 out of my 5 guests, 1 has been a man so far. So is that something that's coming through, or is that just something that happened?
No, I think that is coming through. Spirit's been showing me when I'm working on people how balanced their masculine and feminine energies. Now, I know this sounds all very woo-woo, but I actually really do feel it in someone of whether their masculine is supporting their feminine. So what you're seeing in terms of more female clients coming to you is the rise of the divine feminine.
Guests.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Guests coming in to see you and speak their truth and be able to deliver and show their power of what they do. It is happening to everybody. So when I see a female client or a male client or whoever, Spirit will show me, okay, Guy, you need to work on this person's masculine first so that their masculine is supporting their feminine to create and to receive and vice versa. So there is a rise of that, and it's part of that power reclamation. And this is not just gender specific. We all have the masculine and feminine inside of us. Like my tendency is always in the past to be in my masculine. And I've had to learn over the years to trust my feminine. So a lot of the guidance that's been coming through Spirit to clients is to, that it's actually powerful being a woman or being in your feminine. And I think, there was a podcast I listened to recently, I can't remember who it was, a psychologist, and I think he focuses mostly on men. And he was talking about, men don't really get hugged very often, and they're expected to not cry. And I'm not saying that those are necessarily feminine qualities, but it's in touch with those emotions. And I feel like that is what's happening, but in a healthy way. We're all being asked to address the femininity in us, which is the receptivity, which is the curiosity, which is a different type of power. Because you look at Mother Earth, it's a feminine energy. And look at her power to regenerate, her power to grow, her power to know how to naturally balance things in the world when there's destruction. It's like we have that in us too, and that feminine power is rising in all of us now to be able to do that. Like I've been seeing clients where in past lives before they've been abused or they've been raped, and then I say it, and that's happened in this lifetime too. But they're still quite, and I'm not saying, they're horrible things to happen, and I'm speaking from a soul progression
Right, you're not speaking from a human perspective.
I'm not speaking from a human perspective, but they're now being asked to see, okay, how do I heal that so that I can actually step into my feminine power where I'm not a victim anymore, where I can be powerful to receive, create, and do all of the things within the divine feminine, because it's a very powerful place to be. So this is why you'll be having all these female guests coming, because they're like ready to share. They feel safe with your masculine and feminine balance to share that with you. They feel safe with you.
I thank you for saying that, because I noticed that too with clients. I'm having themes of women who come to me with uterus misalignments, and then a lot of them, I'm going to an age where they were sexually abused or something, or this has been an interesting one. I'm seeing it a lot. This is a theme. It's been happening over the last month. Entities stuck in the skull or the uterus, and I'm clearing it, and that just keeps coming up.
Yeah. So for me, that's really great to hear it from your perspective, because when I work on someone and I'm in that womb uterus area, if I feel stabbing, and I'm talking about it, they're on Zoom, so I'm not touching anybody. It's a painful stabbing, and I'll be like, oh, you're hurting me. And I can feel the sexual trauma going, leave me alone, get away from me, don't come near me. It's a defensiveness. And so, but me addressing that is letting them know, actually, it's safe for me to clear this now. I don't need to hold on to this. Not everybody is trying to use me or abuse me. And so that's why you're picking it up. In the work that you're doing, it is coming up to be addressed, because these are long-standing ancestral soul issues that are coming up to be dealt with. Spirit's telling me to tell you this story, and I think it's a really interesting one that is related to what we're talking about. So I saw a client, and I said to her, okay, we're in a lifetime before. I said, you get married 3 times, 2 different fathers to 3 children. And I said to her, is that what's happened now? She said, yes. I said, okay. I said, they're actually showing me. So I was in a lifetime in Brazil.
They're showing you now?
Yeah, they're showing me now. I can see her again. And so she started hypnotizing me when I arrived in that lifetime. And she was like hypnotizing me with some sort of fruit that was low bearing. And I said to her, are you a hypnotist in this lifetime? She said, I am. I said, okay. I said, well, you're trying to hypnose me, so don't, please, because I've got to do my work with you. So anyway, then they were showing me all these dynamics of her family in this lifetime, God knows how many millions of years ago in Brazil. And as I was talking about this lifetime, 2 spirits came and stood next to me, like in my living room where I work. One of them was this person's sister. And I don't know that because I heard I'm the sister. So I said to my client, I said, do you have a sister in spirit? And she said, I do.
What does that mean, a sister in spirit?
Meaning, do you have a sister that has died?
Okay.
Because I'm still in another realm in this Brazilian life, but I'm also suddenly getting more information where spirits come connected to the client, directly related to the role that she's playing now. And so she said, I do. I said, okay. I said, but this is another weird thing. I said, another light's come in and she's telling me that that's the daughter. So that's mother and daughter that I've got standing here. But the weird thing, this is something that I learned, that I didn't know this could exist. The mother and daughter couldn't see each other, so they were both looking at me, but they were both on different realms. And Spirit was then showing me all of these issues with men in this lifetime that were connected to my client, connected to the client's deceased sister, connected to this little girl. Now, this little girl, I wasn't sure whether she was living or dead because she was only a young child. So sometimes I'll pick that up. Maybe they want me to just talk about this woman's daughter. What the situation was when I said this, and this woman's going just pale white, her sister had killed her own child. And so they were not in the same realm because they are still learning their lessons of why they had to be mother and daughter together. But it goes back further.
Killed her child and herself?
Yes.
Okay.
Killed his child and herself. And again comes back to the divine feminine of creating, not taking life. And so therefore it was connected to why they were all having issues with having relationships with men, is because there had been abuse, there had been resentment, there had been all of those things. And so they were using their feminine energy to destroy rather than empower and grow. So that's what I was saying to you before, everything is related. But it blew my mind because this daughter was talking to me and the mother was talking to me. I was like, why can't you guys talk to each other? They were in different realms.
But then when that happens, what does that correct in all of their lives?
Well, because the client is the one that's in front of me, right? So it was healing the feminine energy that went through the sisters into the daughter, into, I can't remember whether this person had daughters or whatever, but it was healing that whole direct feminine
So it
line.
will heal it. When they come to you, it's being healed.
Because it's being addressed. Because they don't see the connection. So once it's addressed, something, because I can feel it in my body. Like I spend a lot of time getting rid of energy. That's why sometimes can only see one client, then I'm done.
You've told me after working with me, you're like, I'll need 3 days after this.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't do any more right now because it's got to come out of my body. And so it healed that feminine line of like, I'm actually safe now. I don't know the reasonings of why this woman took the child's life, but it was all correlated to I'm not in my female power anymore and I'm not deserving of being a mother and whatever was going on. But this is going to directly affect the living woman and all the women that come after her because we're healing the core of the life being taken, the lives being taken. So it's really quite incredible, this rise of the divine feminine, that we have a lot of wounds. Like we often feel as females, or if our feminine inside of us is really active, we're not safe and we have to protect the defensiveness in the uterus, the entities being attached to us. We're starting to change the story. We're starting to rewrite history in our lives that we consciously are aware of, and rewriting history. So often when I'm in a lifetime before, I will talk to that person that they were before to let them know that the person I've got in front of me is changing. We don't need to hold on to that anymore.
Yeah, you did that. I remember in our session, you said he's turning to me and he's saying, Gaia, help me in that life. And then you were having a conversation with him.
That's right. It's really interesting that happens because I feel like I'm talking to different layers of you. But we can do that ourselves because we're being shown. So you will know.
We can, but it's harder. I mean, it's easy to say.
Yeah,
but it's harder.
But this is why your spiritual practice, if you're going down this path, meditating or whatever you can do afford with your time. I know people have really busy lives, but you're guaranteed mystical experiences if you just keep focusing on silence and being connected to yourself and looking at the connections. Like for me, Spirit gives me information when I need it, but it's not free reign for me. I can't just go up in there and go, okay, Spirit, answer this for me, because I'm a person. But on a human level, and what I'm guiding you and your viewers to do, your listeners, piece it yourself. But I'm very good at that in my own life. Like, oh, look at how that happened and look how everything is perfectly working out, or that delay stopped us from doing this. You can start looking at those.
I'm good at that too. I think it's my journalism background too.
Yeah, exactly.
I start piecing things together of like, And I see my friends sometimes not getting it when I'm getting excited and explaining.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's okay. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's for me. You know what I mean?
And when you're ready, a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't. They just don't see what things are for. But I'm always questioning, what's that for? Why did I meet? Or I allow people to speak. Like I'm talking a lot because obviously it's a podcast, and I talk a lot when I work. But normally I'm quite antisocial. I don't really talk. I'm more observing, looking at what are people going to teach me?
We're similar in that way.
What are people going to teach me today? What interesting message am I going? And I always do. So I remember once I was so upset about something. I was screaming at the universe, going like, "Why?" It's like 10 minutes later, a medium friend of mine who I hadn't spoken to in like 2 years messaged me going, "Oh, it's just in my meditation and they told me to tell you this." It was an answer to my question. I didn't even go asking for it. She's like, "I don't even know what this means." So if we're open, you're open to receiving divine messages from anyone at any time, and they don't even need to be a healer or a medium. You'll just get the direction that you're meant to be going, but you do need to start drawing those connections yourself rather than looking at our backgrounds. Like, I was saying to someone the other day, growing up in a country that was with Western people, European people, I was the only darker skinned person at school at the time I was going at primary school. I didn't want to be me. I didn't want to be brown. But at 33, when I had this, and I still battled with that even in my early 30s. Now in my early 40s, I can look back and think, this is an asset that I've come in like this. It works for me.
And how many people, we were talking about this earlier when I said your hair is so beautiful and you were like, everybody today has been telling me that.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like I have to accept me. If I'm helping other people accept themselves, we've got to accept ourselves. There's a lot of imposter syndrome also that I'm seeing. People who want to step into their healing abilities and their teaching abilities and all of that. But who am I to do that? That's still a victim energy. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't need to know what you're doing. That was the biggest advice given to me by a Māori healer. She said, you don't need to know what you're doing. You're not even doing it. It's being done through you. I'm like, okay, that made me feel a lot better. I
said that's with this because, it's like and I've come to you with this question before off camera, is that my struggle between because I'm human, but I'm also extremely spiritual and I do the work and I go into deep meditation. So it's like I can see everything from both perspectives, but that also is hard because with the podcast, for example, or honestly, anything where I can see from the human perspective and from the spirit. So from the spirit, I'm like, well, I know why. This is why. And well, of course, it'll happen this way or that way. But from the human part, I'm still angry and annoyed with it.
Of course. Life is hard. Life is not easy. It's the spiritual realm that gives us perspective to help us not sit in that frustration for too long. I'm not perfect either. I get angry, I get frustrated, but then I look beyond, above, and observe from beyond, going, okay, what are the connections? And then you can detach from that rather than staying angry and passing that on through your children and generations before, affecting people's lives. We can more quickly observe that. It's just becoming more conscious and aware of who we are and why we are the way that we are, and addressing that quicker so that we're not making other people suffer for it. I used to be such an angry late teens, early 20s, so angry. I don't even know what I was angry for.
I was so fiery.
Yeah, exactly. But it's calmed down a lot through the spiritual journey because I'm like, I understand now. Use it for the flame.
Sometimes I feel like yes. And actually, you know what I realized it's reclaim your fire, you said.
Correct.
As you were talking, it came to me right away. It was like reclaim your fire. But I think it was like spirit telling me, because I need to know that, reclaim your fire. So it came back as you were talking.
I think it's important for all of us to remember we all have our unique gifts. You don't need to know what it is immediately. You are able to do both. You can have the human existence and the spirit. It's a spiritual experience, but we can still enjoy the human aspects of life and embrace who we are in this role that we're playing, because we're creating memories every day. Like you and I will find each other somewhere else in another realm at some other time and be discussing something else. But we're creating memories every day. So let those memories that you're creating, because if I'm accessing memories from hundreds and thousands of lifetimes ago and you're repeating it, everything you're doing now has the potential of repeating. Do you want that?
Right. Wow.
So that's what I ask myself. If I'm having a tantrum about something or whatever, am I going, do I want to take this with me? Is this really who I am, or do I actually know better? So we're creating memories every day with people, with who we talk to, with what we're choosing to do, how we think. Everything we say is a portal that's opening us up for the future. How we think is a portal. So the portals are not necessarily spiritual ones of lights coming up and all of that. Sure, some people will be able to perceive that, but everything we think, everything we say. I'm hearing a lot of people saying, oh, I'm getting so old. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting younger. I don't know about you.
That's how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do genuinely feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that on all levels. And I just think it's important of how we reframe the perspective is looking from a soul perspective rather than from a human perspective. But the soul perspective is to understand the human perspective. They both
And there's so
together.
much programming. Like I hear people say all the time, like, oh, it's killing me. Or, oh, that kills me. And I'm like, do you know what you're saying? Like, you're programming yourself
Yeah.
all day. Or this makes me crazy, like things like that, you know?
And a lot of, Louise Hay obviously did amazing work with, identifying what your disease is in correlation with emotional issues. I'm seeing this a lot with people, a lot of cancers and, like you said, issues in the uterus. But there's different issues that are, you needed to address this now. There's the spirits coming in going, got no time to waste anymore. Everything is now. We've got to deal with it now. So don't ignore things that are coming up. And of course, affordability for people to access help could be an issue, but just connecting with yourself, taking time to meditate silently or whatever, being connected with nature. There are things that we can do to stop thinking so much and come back to seeing from the heart space.
So I guess let's end it on something that people can take with them. A forecast for everyone, a forecast for the collective.
Sure. I did make some notes over the last couple of weeks because I find I'm always looking at life from a soul progression point of view. So when I look at my week, when I look at my month, I'm looking, what am I meant to be doing this month? What's the lesson? What am I focusing on? So I've gone through the months with just a few words for us to consider for each month, and I'll talk about them briefly so that when you get to that month, you can look and go, okay, how is this panning out for me? How am I to use this? I'm going to start at January because I like to look backwards sometimes to go, okay, what happened then?
I was hoping you would do that. Okay, thank you.
So January 2024 was about backing ourselves and opening ourselves to possibility with new opportunities coming up. This year is the year of the 8. It's the infinite year, new possibilities, being curious, allowing life to surprise you. February was about a lot of death and rebirth energy in February. If you look back at the month of February, you would have found pieces of you dying and being reborn again. And it was also the Chinese New Year with the year of the dragon at that time. So we had to die and be reborn again for that new power.
Which I'm a dragon, by the way.
Are you?
Yeah, my actual astrology, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a dog.
Nice.
March, which is power reclamation. Spirit actually showed me, and I didn't even know what the symbol was, and this again coming back to sort of sacred symbols and sacred geometry. They showed me the 3 spirals, and I had to research that to see what that meant, because I was like, why are you showing me this? What's this got to do with anything? And so it's the Triskelion, which is an old Celtic symbol. And for me, the representation of what they were showing me is past, present, and future all coming together with the timelines merging. So for March...
Does that mean there will still be past lives and future lives, or are we just going to be here and that's it?
I feel like they will, but everything's being addressed now.
Okay.
So everything that we're going to be in the future is now. Everything that we were in the past is now. And March, I found it interesting because this is the month that I come to America and all of those things. It's like everything has to be discussed this month because this is what people are going to be looking at. So it's power reclamation, everything merging, and this progressive cycle of heart expansion and heart coherence with the equinox and all of that coming in as well. And we've had a couple of eclipses, which is also a time where people can be upgrading, these programs upgrading. So if you're someone that's not spiritually sensitive, the more that you start looking at life with this perspective, you'll start to feel and acknowledge these upgrades that are happening. April, there's a lot of things going on in April. So the words that I wrote before coming here are reevaluating everything, working on an independent project because loyalty is going to be tested. So we might find, I'm not talking globally because I'm looking at the individual souls progressing, right? But we may see globally people fighting for their rights, which may not look that great to other people in terms of who are you loyal to? Are you loyal to us or them?
You don't know astrology at all?
No, I don't.
This is like what astrology
astrology.
says, Vedic astrology says about what's happening in April and March. Yeah.
I have no idea.
Okay.
This is just me telling me to tell you.
Because April also is this massive solar eclipse, like massive, and it goes right over Texas. But it's all hidden truths, massive, like political people taking sides, but things coming to the surface that were trying to be hidden.
Here we go.
Deception is, from this last new moon that just happened days ago. Yeah.
So it's interesting. That's great. Thank you for giving me validation on that from an astrological point of view. So yeah, April's going to be big.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's because it's the fourth month. Like for me, because I don't know astrology, but 4 is half of the 8. So I feel like this is like another time.
Why? I don't know what 8 is. This is numerology, I'm assuming. But is 8 like infinity?
Yes, infinity. But also, I don't know numerology either, but it is coming up a lot in sessions. Like Spirit giving me specific ages, specific time. It's like the number matters. That thing happened to you at 47. That happened at 38. That happened at 33. Spirit's already given me my next. I'm 41 now. They did tell me there were other things that were going to happen in my early 40s. So I just feel like the numerology. Do a little bit of fun research about that.
Well, I have lately. You know what's really interesting? I changed my phone number because I didn't want anybody to have. I want very limited access to me right now.
Yeah.
And so I changed my number, only a handful of people have it, but when you add up all the numbers together, they're 8, and this randomly was suggested on a YouTube video. And my condo number adds up to 8, but my previous address and my previous number were both 6. And I only looked it up because this recommended video, and I was like, well, I'll watch it. And everything they said 6 is and 8 is exactly where I'm at.
And normally I wouldn't know anything, but because Spirit's been giving me information, specifically numbers, I'm not even a numbers person, but it's something fun for everybody to look into and be like, what age am I? What's just for fun, yeah. May, backing yourself.
Oh my God, and I'm 35. 3 plus 5 is 8. Sorry.
There we go.
Okay.
So May, backing yourself, adapting, starting new projects. Okay, so that's just kind of a general message that I got. Because if our loyalty and everything's being sort of tested in April, the next month after it's like we got to back ourselves now. We really got to back ourselves, begin to adapt to things and starting projects that we were starting to think about in April.
So in May, start projects?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I just feel like April's more about the reevaluation, considering what you want to do, maybe just looking at things, but not actually acting until May. I don't know why. This is just what they told me.
And for a reminder to everyone watching, this is for everybody.
This is everybody watching. So this is just a general guideline when you get to the month for you to go, okay, what can I think about? Or if you're feeling a bit lost. June, healing energy to restore sense of loss. I thought this was an interesting phrase that they gave me, but there are rewards, they said to me. We're going to need to be inventive to have incentive. And I found that was quite an interesting way that they gave it to me. It's like, okay, there's going to be obviously some things that are going to come up where maybe some victim energy in all of us is going to come up where we feel a sense of loss or loss of direction. But if we've planned beforehand in April and May what our project is and what we're wanting to move forward, we can get back on that plan in June and heal that part of us that feels a bit lost by knowing what we want to do and knowing and Spirit just reassuring us that there is going to be a reward if we're going to be inventive and maybe incentivize ourselves. Like I find it interesting how I work. I'm someone like I'll do a job and then I'll sit and do something I like for a few minutes.
I do that too. I do the exact thing.
I'm like that. I can't do it all at once.
I do the same thing. Yeah.
So I'm very much like that. So I believe that maybe that's how we're supposed to work for June. July, being very grounded, protecting ourselves, reconciliation. So we might be finding ourselves reconciling with relationships, reconciling with things of the past. Spirit wanted to mention to us that nothing will be wasted. So in July, if you're experiencing things going, that was a waste of time. It's like you're reconciliating or reconciling with that where nothing is wasted. August message, there's going to be growth, a leap of faith, no regret. So I don't know, I kept tuning into August thinking, God, that's going to be a big month. There's like a lot going to be going on in terms of our expansion. September, I have put belief being restored, experiences that are going to make us believe in love again.
Wait, why did you look?
No, we don't know. Maybe there's relationships coming in but I just feel like we need to be open, and even if we're in relationships, to look at bringing in that loving energy if you've forgotten what to have, how to cultivate that in relationships. October, I think October is going to be a little bit of an April type of energy, but just not as profound, where more secrets are going to be unveiled. And I'm picking up things like mysteries of the world type of thing. And I think a lot of people who are connected to sort of extraterrestrials, which I'm not really.
I so am.
Yeah.
And that comes up in astrology, by the way. And all the gurus are saying, they have been saying, like Sri Sri Ravi Shankar said years ago in 2024, there will be like more open contact.
Yeah. So people who are open to that, and even just, connecting in with your spirituality more, for whatever reason, October is what they told me, more secrets unveiled, more extraterrestrial communication, all of those things. November, which is my birthday month, shedding of old, spiritual growth, miracles happening, more reevaluation. The snake energy comes in a lot at that time too. And then obviously the last December, I always look at December quite, there's lots of endings usually in December. Spirit also confirmed that, cycles will be broken. So not necessarily endings, but breaking of cycles will be happening. And you'll be able to see the bigger picture. There's going to be more sacred bonds formed in December. So I just feel like it's a brief guideline, but it's kind of good to hear from your astrological point of view that Spirit's giving me things, because I don't know anything about astrology, that we can look at and be curious about. Because sometimes when we are trying to find things, it's hard for us to see. But if we go through with curiosity, thinking, okay, what's coming up with these certain themes, and apply it, that's how I operate my life. Like I set a theme for the week, and I'll be like, okay, how's this going to transpire throughout the month, throughout the week, and I go from there. But this was just a general breakdown.
I love that. Thank you for that.
You're very
welcome. I think it'll be a cool like Instagram reel that people can always go back to, like April, January, March, whatever month, Because
I think it just gives us all a bit of a framework to work towards. Like, maybe I won't start anything in April, but May I'll start thinking about it in April, and then May I might launch it. And you might not realize what that means now, but even I've got things in my head that are popping up that they're telling me, okay, no, wait till May till you do that, or whatever. So I just think it's nice to know, but not taking things too seriously either, and just letting life navigate you forward.
How can people find you?
Okay, so the best way is to go to my website at soul33.com, and that will give you all the different ways to get a hold of me.
To the app and all kinds of. I've had actually friends, clients, so many people tell me that you've done custom meditations for them. Those
I love doing.
Really?
It's like doing
people love them.
I know, almost like doing a session for someone, because I don't know who some people are, and I get information on what they need, because I infuse energy into them, so it's like you're receiving the healing, because I'm picking up. And so a lot of people will email my assistant back saying, oh my God, like that's actually what I needed, or that's what I've been picking up. How did she know? I'm like, I don't know.
Whoa.
So
okay, now really I want one.
So
I'm gonna
cool.
bother your assistant. But I think your assistant can't stand me. So I'm going to have someone email her. I've had a lot of friends tell me it's exactly what I needed, but I didn't know until you just said that. I thought that you have these just like, this is one for relaxation. This is one. I didn't know they were specific like that.
They take me a long time to do.
What?
I customize, because I sit there and I tune in and go, okay, what does this person need? Who am I needing to bring in? What healing? So they take me, it's not just like a shortcut thing. It's like they're customized for you. And most people just leave it up to me to go, what do I feel? And I just go intuitively, like, this is what
And you like it like that, right?
I love it like that. I think it's better, because then our ego's not getting in the way going, I think I need that. It's like, what does spirit think I need? And so then I go with it. But yeah, there's lots of different ways to connect with me in different capacities. So, but the website, soul33.com, is the best place to find me.
Everybody, please check it out. I wanted to tell specific stories in this episode of what people have told me about their experience with you, and I didn't, out of respect to them. Even if I don't say their name, maybe they didn't want me to. So I didn't, but there are some extraordinary things that you've told people. So soul33.com, and yeah, thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Of course.
Ever since I wrote my goals down with the pen, my dreams and reality have both been blending in. I just hope that in the end, my debt don't extend me on my dividends. If it did, I'd have to keep pivoting. Turn the other cheek and down another dose of adrenaline. I don't need to